The Gospel we just listened to this morning recounts the joy-filled encounter between Mary and Elizabeth. It's known, of course, to us through the second of the joyful mysteries of the Rosary as the Visitation. Both women have conceived a child in an unexpected and remarkable fashion. Mary was told by an angel that she was to conceive a child by the overshadowing of the Holy Spirit. The angel tells her that her child will be great and will be called Son of the Most High. Elizabeth was well beyond childbearing age, and yet the prayers over long years of her husband and herself were heard. And their child, they were told, is destined for a special mission. He is to prepare the people for the coming of the Messiah. Elizabeth later reflects upon all that has taken place, and she says, "Thus the Lord has done to me in the days when he looked upon me to take away my reproach among men." Both women knew that their child was a miracle, and they were filled with awe and joy. Hearing that her cousin Elizabeth was expecting, Mary, we are told, set out from Nazareth to visit her in the hill country just beyond Jerusalem. In the meeting of the two women, Elizabeth herself is keenly aware of the great and singular privilege that has been given to Mary. And so she exclaims, "Why should I be honoured by a visit from the mother of my Lord?" And she says of her cousin, "Yes, blessed is she who believed that the promise made her by the Lord would be fulfilled." In other words, with these words, Elizabeth is saluting the faith of Mary. She believed in the promises made her by the Lord. For Mary to respond to the angel in the way that she did, she needed to believe. Her fiat was based upon her great trust in God. No doubt, a product of a life devoted to God. And her yes was grounded in her own surrender of faith to whatever God would ask of her. This was the way she believed, this was the way she lived, and this enabled her to respond as she did. So her act of obedience to the message of an angel was an act of faith. In fact, without her faith and trust in God, the incarnation would never have taken place. Thus, Elizabeth is very right and appropriate in her comment. Blessed is she who believed. We can only be open to the mystery of God if we have faith. Faith opens our minds and our hearts to things which are beyond the material, the self-evident, and the scientifically provable. Faith enables us to be taken beyond ourselves into the world of the things of the Spirit. And faith ushers us into situations where God is able to reveal himself to us and God is able to act in our lives. Sadly, in so many people's lives today, the great obstacle to experience the wonder of what God has done and continues to do is that they don't have faith. We sadly live in a society now that no longer believes in God. And society now, which is really just stuck in one dimension of human existence. People have shut down the spiritual dimension of their lives. They are in fact living in darkness because they are unable to see the light. It's like living in a house with all the curtains drawn and the light outside just doesn't get in. So they're living half lives, locked in on the physical level alone. We human beings have a spiritual dimension to ourselves. We're not just superior members of the animal kingdom. We're far, far more than that. We're not just driven by passion or emotion or need. The book of Genesis declares this truth when it says that we human beings have been created in the image and likeness of God. We're not just some end point of an evolutionary process. We have a dignity all our own. We are unique among all created reality because God breathed something of himself into us when he created each one of us as a human being. Each one of us, in being created, have been given an immortal soul that longs for union with God. In an article in Saturday's Australian yesterday, Greg Sheridan wrote a rather lengthy and fine article arguing for the truth of Christianity. And he says, establishing the credibility of the New Testament, not just the founding myth of Christianity, but as the historical truth of Christianity, and indeed of human history, would help the human situation profoundly. It would also, incidentally, rescue Western civilization. He ends his article by saying, so here is good news. The New Testament is true. God is alive after all. Meaning and transcendence reign. Enchantment is back. Having faith opens a person to meaning, the full meaning, and to transcendence, the reality of things beyond ourselves, and brings, I believe, particularly as we celebrate Christmas, a true enchantment to human life. Because light penetrates our minds and our hearts, and we become exposed to the wonder of God. The joy that Mary and Elizabeth knew also becomes available to us. So it is very true. Blessed are they who believe. So as Christmas approaches, let us allow ourselves to enter into that enchantment that Greg Sheridan spoke about. Let us embrace again the wonder of the mystery of the Son of God's incarnation as Jesus of Nazareth. Let us receive that joy which emanated from the hearts and spirits of Mary and Elizabeth. And let us simply be reminded that to have faith is indeed a great blessing. So let us, in the coming week, celebrate the wonder of Christmas, that God has become man, Emmanuel. God is with us.